Joining us now, Virginia Lieutenant Governor and gubernatorial candidate and former Marine, Winsome Sears. Lieutenant Governor, great to see you always. The problem is this vacuum of information, it creates hysteria. And it just shows you that the people in charge of this nation are utterly inept and really don't care, quite frankly. And speaking of this Langley incident, we still do not know who it was behind it and why it happened. And since then, in recent months, there have been drone swarms around Edwards Air Force Base in California. Who is behind this?
You know, it sort of reminds you about, remember the infamous balloon that took off from China, came through Alaska, came down the lower 48, did figure eights around military bases, traversed the whole of America, and then ended up in Virginia, and it was our F-22 Raptors that finally shot that thing down. I mean, you know, this is just absolute weakness in the White House, and I just believe maybe it's a test of some kind, but we don't know anything. I mean, you just heard President Trump. He's the president-elect, and they haven't even briefed him. We don't know what's going on. 17 whole days, there was a mystery swarm of drones over our naval bases and nothing, still nothing. Nobody says anything.
Yeah, Lieutenant Governor, I mean, the thing that really worries me is the fact that these drones like to hang out around military assets. And the impression I'm getting is, I don't know, is our DOD focused on countering these drones? Is there anybody who has responsibility and willing to take responsibility for this at the federal level?
I tell you, Brian, your guess is as good as mine, and apparently it's as good as everybody else's, because our government at the federal level isn't telling us anything. Whatever they know or they don't know, and the problem is they probably don't know what they don't know, and they won't even tell us what they probably don't know. I mean, nobody knows anything, and that's a problem. I mean, it's just crazy.
We only found out about the 17-day drone swarm over Langley in Virginia because the Wall Street Journal reported on it in October. So some 10 months after the fact. And we do know, based on the reporting, that it was not a commercial, kind of traditionally commercial drones. And that because of the quadcopters were using a frequency band that is not traditionally available, kind of off-the-shelf drones. I digress. This is just an absolute disaster. But I want to move on to this.
It's a mess.
Speaking of other disasters, that leaders like Governor Glenn Youngkin and yourself are trying to fix. Governor Youngkin has proposed a new budget banning sanctuary cities in the Commonwealth of Virginia and making state funding contingent on local law enforcement's full cooperation with ICE. It's hard to imagine, Lieutenant Governor, what municipalities in the Commonwealth wouldn't want to cooperate with ICE and basically hand over criminals for deportation.
Well, you know, we were elected to keep the people safe, and that's what we're trying to do, because, Dagan, if you don't have safety and security, you don't have economic development. That's basic. People need to be safe in their homes, their families need to be safe, the communities need to be safe, and that's all Governor Youngkin is trying to do, is to uphold the law. So what he is proposing is that if you do not let ICE know that you have illegal immigrants who have been criminally charged, and you just release them into the community, then you're not going to get the funding. I mean, these are our tax dollars at work against us and working on behalf of the perpetrators. How is that even possible? My tax dollars are used against me. And so the governor is saying, let's put things in order. First of all, you're here legally, and you said you wanted to be here for opportunity, etc. Except that in two instances right here in Virginia, we have seen where one man who has a history of sexual violence here illegally, and he was charged with abduction with the intent to rape. They released him.
Right.
Did not, ICE begged. Let us know when you're going to release. No, they released him into the general community. And then another man who was charged with murder in Oakton, in another part of the district, he was just released, And so apparently the perpetrators have more rights than the rest of us do. It's ridiculous.
Well, it's a simple formula for these cities. You get your money if you do your job. If you don't do your job, you don't get your money. Lieutenant Governor, we got to leave it there, but we appreciate you being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
You bet.